Alex, you are Mark Richt, head football coach at the University of Georgia. Defend your job.
First of all, I don't know why I'm on the hot seat. Look what I have done at Georgia. In my 9 years of previous coaching experience at this school, I've been to 3 BCS games, and I've won 2 of them. Every year, except for last year, we finished the season ranked in the top 25. I don't know why I'm on the hot seat, but let me continue about my impressive record. I mean, can you tell me again why I'm on the hot seat? I don't know why. It's all these crazy Georgia fans. They're passionate. That's why I love them. But you got to cut me some slack. I mean, 6 of my 9 seasons at this school, I've won 10 or more football games. Nobody in the SEC has a better road winning percentage than I do. I have a better winning percentage than the legendary Vince Dooley. I have a better winning percentage than the best coach in this school, Vince Dooley. That's another reason why you got to keep me in. Also, I'm a movie star. I was in the movie Facing the Giants. So not only am I a good coach, I am also an actor. I know this year started off rough, but we can still do good things. You guys thought last year was rough? We won 8 games. That was supposedly my worst year, and we won 8 games. We defeated a top 10 Georgia Tech team on the road, our arch rival, and we won our bowl game, and you guys are complaining? Jeez, I mean, some schools got it a lot worse than you do. So just thank God that I'm your football coach and keep me around, because look what they did at Tennessee. They ran out Phil Fulmer, and look what happened right there. They're in total turmoil. They had to play UAB and beat them in double overtime. Give me a break. We're Georgia. We're going to keep winning games. Keep me around. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Okay, now,
Brilliant.
Out of all these coaches, which one do you think survives and will be coaching next season?
Well, if I just have to give you one, I'll just give you Mark Richt. I think for many of the reasons that you just articulated, Mark Richt will keep his job. He's 91-30 as a head coach at Georgia, 7-2 in bowl games, 2 BCS bowl victories, 8-1 against Georgia Tech. I think clearly, even if they have a losing season this year, deserves to get another year based on what he's done previously.
Yeah, and I'll quickly, I think Dan Hawkins, I think he's gone at the end of the year. Paul Wolf, I know he's only been there 3 years. He's absolutely gone. They've only won 1 Pac-10 game. They just get embarrassed week in, week out. Mike Sherman definitely, I think, will be back. Mark Richt, if he's not back, then that's an absolute crime. Schools will be lining up to have this guy coach their football team. Todd Dodge, I know North Texas is hard, but I know they're trying to get new facilities and things. And if you're losing football games, it's going to be tough to get recruits. And a lot of times we've seen, too, that high school coaches who go from high school to college football, it doesn't usually work that well. I mean, example, Jerry Faust at Notre Dame back in the 80s, and even in Iowa, Bob Cummings, who his Iowa was his alma mater, and he was an Ohio high school coach, came here. It didn't really work out for us either. I kind of think that's similar with Todd Dodge. Even though they like to put up a lot of points, I just don't think he probably survives.
He better keep beating Western Kentucky, those mighty Hilltoppers.
To get to the mountaintop,
that's right.
You got to beat the Hilltoppers. That's right. Okay, let's pick some games this weekend. We had our fun. We're going to probably have to do that a few more times throughout the year. I like that game. That's a fun game. Okay, first of all, let's go to the Big Ten, the best conference in college football. Number 11, Wisconsin, is traveling to East Lansing to take on the 24th-ranked Michigan State Spartans. Mike, who do you have in this one?
Wisconsin wins this football game. John Clay has run for 507 yards this week. James White, the freshman phenom under Brett Bielema, ran for 145 yards against the Governors of Austin Peay last week. I like Wisconsin and their running tack to open up the play-action pass for Scott Tolzien to Lance Kendricks, the tight end who has 3 touchdowns this year and 299 receiving yards. Now, of course, when you look at Michigan State, Le'Veon Bell and Edwin Baker have both combined for nearly 600 yards this season, so they have tremendous running backs as well. Kirk Cousins is probably the equal of Scott Tolzien, but I think the difference in this football game is Lance Kendricks at tight end. And then defensively, you could say Michigan State with Greg Jones is a game changer, and he had 2 interceptions last week against Northern Colorado. But I like Wisconsin because they can grind it out, and they'll wear down Michigan State in the trenches in the fourth quarter. Wisconsin close, less than a touchdown.
And this season, talk about wearing teams out on the ground. Wisconsin averaging 5.5 yards a carry. That's just absolutely tremendous. And I know last week they played the Governors of Austin Peay, but they scored on their first 7 possessions. I don't care who you're playing. That's tough to do. Now, it's not like they're playing the Mayors of Austin Peay, or the school board members of Austin Peay. They're the governors. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. Yeah, I like Wisconsin close. Michigan State could definitely get the win. I think they're a good football team, but I like Wisconsin to win this one.
Michigan State has won the last 2 games in Spartan Stadium. We saw Kirk Ferentz get his first win there. Yeah. Can Brett Bielema get his first win in Spartan Stadium?
Definitely,
I think he will.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tough place to play in Spartan Stadium. One of the few Big Ten stadiums that still have actual grass. I like it. I like Spartan Stadium. Always a nice-looking stadium. 2:30 game on ABC. Now let's go to the SEC. Number 7 Florida travels to Tuscaloosa to take on number 1 Alabama. The last 2 years, these two teams have met in the SEC title game, but now they're meeting in the regular season. Who do you think takes this one?
I think Alabama wins again. It's the same recycled argument I make every week, but it continues to be correct. Alabama in the trenches, running the football with Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson. Florida, despite their talent and depth on defense, they will have a hard time containing those 2 running backs throughout the duration of 4 quarters. Now, Trey Burton, the freshman quarterback, backup quarterback who's come in that Gator formation for Florida, had 6 touchdowns last week against Kentucky. So can Florida keep it in 3rd down and manageable situations? If they can do that, then they'll have a shot to win this game in Tuscaloosa. But I like Alabama, Greg McElroy, the more experienced quarterback than John Brantley. This will be Brantley's first real test. I guess you could say Tennessee on the road was a test, but this will be his toughest test of the year to date. I like Alabama winning this game by between 10 and 14 points, close in the 4th quarter, but Alabama pulls away at the very end.
Let me tell you a few things about Alabama. Number 1, they've won 28 straight regular season games. Number 2, they got the best scoring offense in the SEC, and they put up more yards per game than any other offense in the SEC. In terms of defense, no team in the nation gives up less points per game than Alabama. They've only given up 9.75 points per game. And also on 3rd down, they are one of the best 3rd down defenses in college football. Last week, a very good Arkansas offense only mustered up 2 3rd down conversions versus Alabama. I think those reasons gets Alabama the win versus a good Florida football team. Now let's go to the Pac-10. This one just is very intriguing. Number 9 Stanford, a Stanford team that started the season unranked, has traveled to Autzen Stadium to take on number 4 Oregon. Both these teams putting up points at will. Who puts up more in the end?
I think Stanford does it again this year. Last year, Stanford put up over 50 points against Oregon, conceded 41 points, but nonetheless won the football game. I like Stanford in Autzen Stadium to shock the nation, win, continue to move up in the polls. This attack will be led, of course, by Andrew Luck, who I think clearly is one of the top quarterbacks in America. I think he's better than Jake Locker, who's been getting most of the love from ESPN with regard to who's going to be the first pick in next year's NFL draft. I like Andrew Luck and the coaching of Jim Harbaugh and their discipline to beat Oregon. Oregon was the beneficiary of 7 turnovers from Arizona State last week. If they do anything like that again, which they may or may not, but if they do, Stanford's going to win this game. The more disciplined football team is who I'm going to take this time.
Yeah, and a lot of people are down in Oregon after that double-digit win on the road versus Arizona State last week. I mean, come on, Arizona State went to Madison and only lost by 1 point to Wisconsin. Arizona State's a better football team than they were the last 2 years, where they've been pretty mediocre. Also, Darren Thomas last week, 260 yards and 2 touchdowns on the road. I don't care where you're playing on the road in the Pac-10. It's usually pretty tough. That's impressive from him. LaMichael James, 475 yards on the ground in their last 3 games. If Stanford wins this game, they'll be 5-0 for the first time since 1959, or excuse me, in the last 59 years. That'd be pretty impressive. I'd like to see Stanford win because I love what Jim Harbaugh is doing down in Palo Alto, but I'm going to give Oregon a slight edge in this one. But I think as of right now, this could be for the Pac-10 championship, at least as of how the Pac-10 is shaping out to be. It looks like these 2 teams are at the top, and then teams like Arizona kind of just right there too. It ought to be a very interesting Pac-10 race throughout the rest of the year.